Let's watch the WillE video. Vanilla WoW is so back.
The smallest team working on a version of World of Warcraft are the ones getting the best results. We've had a few unofficial sources that have started estimating the number of players on Season of Discovery, and given how every realm is packed to the brim with several layers, I'd say it's pretty hard to argue with what they're showing. But as this newer version of Classic has begun to grow at an exponential rate, another one has started to dwindle somewhat. We all knew that day would arrive with the original trio.
Look at this. Where is it? Look at this. This is the current state of Classic Wrath. This is Classic Wrath. This is not good. This is bad. Classic Wrath is in a bad fucking spot. Here we go. WillE video.
From vanilla to Wrath would have rerun their course, and as of today this has more or less happened, and I've no doubt this has had a big impact on the number of players in Season of Discovery, but we can touch on that a bit more later. What we can say,
was it the WoW token? Guys, what was the problem with Classic Wrath? Was it the WoW token for you? Why did you quit Classic Wrath? Because for me, a huge part of it actually was the WoW token. It was the WoW token. That was a huge psychological blow. That was a big problem for me.
Say for sure is that Season of Discovery is doing even better than probably anyone imagined it would be doing, and it's brought tons of people back into the oldest version of World of Warcraft, just with a twist on the traditional format. But what does the bigger picture look like? Today I want to take a look into that and see how well Classic WoW is doing at the moment. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, Call of Dragons. Call of Dragons is an epic fantasy RTS game available cross-platform where you enter the world of Tamaris and are met with endless possibilities. Call of Dragons focuses on scale and wants every battle or journey to feel epic.
I wonder how much money WillE is making per. So this is it's a 1 minute. It's about a 1 minute plug. I wonder how much money he's making per video, per ad like this. I don't know.
World features a near 4 kilometer square map with frozen tundras, mountainous peaks, deep ravines, and tons more. In Call of Dragons, you will of course be recruiting and commanding your forces, from the savage orcs, swift elves, to the resourceful humans. But best of all are the huge battles which take place. Here you'll find advantages through the world's 3D terrain, whether it's placing archers on the high ground, setting a trap in a ravine,
I just hate pay to win. That's my problem. I hate
it. Time. Every advantage matters. Pair heroes strategically alongside powerful artifacts to create harmonious attacks, leaving your enemies stunned and ensuring victory for you and your army. And with so many different combinations to try out, there will be tons of new strategies to test on the battlefield. There are also social MMO type aspects to the game as well, which you'll be familiar with, such as collaborative large-scale projects to complete with others, as well as cross-play to ensure that there's always a party waiting for you. You can check out all this and tons more in Call of Dragons today. Download Call of Dragons to join fantasy battles now by clicking the first link in the description or pinned comment, or by scanning the QR code. Also, don't forget to use the promo code CODFANTASY. Many thanks to Call of Dragons for the sponsor today. Let's get back to WoW.
You know one way that TBC or Wrath could have been made a lot better? If everything was exactly the same, but you have the 10% damage Darkmoon Fair buff once a month. Just like it is in Vanilla WoW. If you had the same Darkmoon Fair system that you have in Vanilla WoW in both TBC and Wrath, then that would... I think what Darkmoon Fair buff does, the 10% damage buff, is it gives people a time and a place to do a speed run where the run feels like it matters. And also, it's not only hardcore guilds that do this, like speedrunning guilds, it's like casual guilds. Like, okay, guys, this is the week, once a month, this is the week, we're going to actually try, right? And I think having that is actually, it's actually a very good ritual for Classic WoW players to have, the Darkmoon Fair buff.
I want to start off by taking a look at some numbers on the seasonal server as we stand today. The website ironforge.pro is one I've used a bunch in the past, and whilst it's not perfect, I do think it gives us a good impression of how things are in-game. If you didn't know, it pulls its player numbers from Warcraft logs, so that means specifically characters who have been recorded in a raid at least one time, over whichever date range is applied. This does mean alts will be counted as separate characters, which is going to be a big deal for Season of Discovery. Again, it's not perfect, but this is what we have. As of the first reset, there was just under 375,000 active raiding characters, and as of the last recorded reset when I did this video, it had jumped all the way up to 464,000 characters who had raided at least once in the space of a week. Just to put it into perspective of how many characters that really is, the Burning Crusade peaked just after SSC and TK were released in mid.
I know people that haven't even cleared BFD yet. Bro, there's no way. Hold up. Can I see something? I'm going to Warcraft logs. Are there guilds in SOD that are still to this day progressing? All right, guys, next week we're going to look to try to kill 4 bosses. We can do it. If we all come together, we're going to be able to maybe we can kill 6 bosses by the end of the phase if we really, really buckle down and do this, guys. I know it's a tough raid. Do you think so? I can't believe it. Where's Season of Discovery? And you can do progress. You can check progress right here at the top. Here it is. Okay. There are 7,653 logged raids, right? For Black Fathom Deeps. Is that true? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? This is chat, hold up. What is it? What does this number mean? It's got to be guilds. It's guilds. I guess it's guilds. Okay. And so okay, there are 4 guilds that stopped at 1 out of 7. 7 guilds stopped at 2 out of 7. 7 guilds stopped at 3 out of 7. 8 guilds 4 out of 7. 14 5 out of 7. 9 6 out of 7. They couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. It was too tough.
September, showing around 400,000 active characters, and Vanilla Classic's peak was just under 500,000 characters when Blackwing Lure came out, but that was a bit of a one-off reset, as you can see per the data here. As for Wrath of the Lich King, both Phase 1 content, including Next Rammus, the...
Do you guys think something bugged out with this week? Was there some error in the way that they were tabulating the logs here? Because this is so... I've always wondered, right? Because that thing has been sticking out for years now. That 1 week spike is so fucking abnormal, and it just totally breaks the trend. I don't know. Yeah, this is during Blackwing Lair. This is Blackwing Lair. But by the way, it's not the first week of Blackwing Lair. It's like the 5th week of Blackwing Lair. Just like 1 week, it randomly zoop, zoop, just for 1 week. I don't know.
As for Wrath of the Lich King, both Phase 1 content, including Next Rammus, the Eye of Eternity and South Arian's Lair, as well as Ulduar, saw more players. But that's it. Other than that, this amount of players on the seasonal server is seriously impressive. Now, of course, a big thing that Season of Discovery has going for it is how incredibly alt-friendly the level 25 meta is. It takes very little time to get a fresh character from 1 to 25 and into BFD. That being said, Season of Discovery is only about a month and a half old, so despite this, I think the number of characters who are actively raiding...
It was late November. I think SOD came out like November 23rd. Is that when it was? 1 week, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're like 30th. Okay, so we're almost exactly 2 months. Almost exactly.
Raiding at this point in time is very impressive. It kind of goes to show that fast and easy raids are what really get the numbers in for Classic, more so than difficulty and progression based raids. We'll get more onto that later though. What we can also see here is that for once, the realms are actually fairly well balanced too, which outside of a few...
I have to say the 50-50 balance mechanism that they've implemented now for the first time on SOD has been a huge W. Don't you guys agree? I think this functionality they have that is forcing server balance, it's worked really well. Big fan. And also, as far as I know, this is the first time they've ever done this. I don't think in World of Warcraft's history, in 20 years, I don't think they've ever had forced faction balance. This is the first time, and it's great. It's working. It works well.
few niche cases
well.
has just never happened in World of Warcraft before. And
Yep.
as much as you hear people say they want WoW PvP, unless Blizzard hard enforces server caps, WoW always ends up how it looks in Wrath at the moment, with the vast majority of servers just having one faction on them. And even if your server hits 66% one faction, 33% the other, which is only 16% off it being 50-50 either way, in practice this means you're outnumbered 2-1 in the open world. But Blizzard's actions for Season of Discovery have us in a much better place, because they have essentially enforced faction caps. So if one faction gets too dominant, character creation is temporarily paused for them. Agren tweeted out not too long ago that all PvP realms have a 5% or less delta between the two factions, which for classic WoW PvP servers is an amazing feat to have achieved and maintained. And on the topic of WoW PvP and PvP servers, I'm thinking the Stranglethorn Vale PvP event, and just on PvP servers in general, is going to be absolute chaos. Hopefully in a good way. We also got another tweet that, thankfully, what's planned for STV will be different to what we currently have in Ashenvale. For me, Ashenvale is good reputation.
I want to say we spent a half hour talking about the leak again today. This leak here that we made a video about, every streamer talked about it. You guys have probably seen this. This leak is verifiably fake. This thing is 100% fucking fake, and we were able to prove that earlier today. It's total bullshit. It's totally fake. Datical with the 8 months! Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It has been debunked by anonymous sources from inside the Pentagon.
It's good for earning rewards and all of that stuff, but it's missed the mark on being a PvP event because it's just kind of AV light. I know they were trying to base it off AV, but I was hoping it wouldn't be this bit, where we just run between one PvE objective and the next. Also, you probably saw, but the Phase 2 announcement tweet has a pretty big nudge towards a huge red sky. A blood red sky, you could say. Maybe a blood red sky for a blood god, like the one in Zul'Gurub, for example.
No way.
This PvP event might even involve free-for-all type PvP, or possibly the return of the corrupted blood incident to the open world of Azeroth once again. Imagine that. Either way, there's a lot to look forward to.
I'm having a totally random COVID memory. This was the middle of 2020. I logged into the game and I checked my mailbox. And in my mailbox, someone with a Chinese character name sent me a bunch of bat wings and some fucking soup. They sent me consumables. It was like the crispy bat wings and some fucking soup. They sent it to me with the Chinese name in the mailbox. I was like, okay, bro. Okay, dude. Okay.
In Phase 2. But let's get back on topic here. You know, another thing that we can notice about the Season of Discovery realms?
And then I ate it.
The size. The biggest realm as per Ironforge.pro is Europe's Living Flame, which we like to call Locked Flame, because in Season of Discovery, if one realm gets too big, it also gets locked for new character creation to stop players piling onto a mega server. But unless you have a good reason to roll there are plenty of other options, because pretty much every single one of Season of Discovery's realms would have been considered mega realms back in 2019. Living Flame has some 80,000 active raiding characters with only a 2% margin between
that is a
and
big
Alliance
fucking
2.
server.
I don't know if you remember Vanilla originally.
What's the North American server? Hold up. Crusader Strike? Demographics, Classic SOD, Crusader Strike. Holy shit. 70,000. Living Flame, 73,000. Oh my god, that's a lot of fucking people. That's a lot of characters, at least.
Originally, talking about 2004 here, high server populations back then would have been 2,000 to about 2,500. And
do you remember this website? Do you remember this website, dude? Man, ooh, that's good shit.
I believe around 4,000 was what they were capable of hitting as a cap due to tech at the time. And it was an active decision they made to keep the numbers lower too, because they wanted a community of recognizable faces on your realm, not just a huge volume of players which are stacked everywhere non-stop. But hey, times change, I guess. And if we compare the biggest seasonal realm to the biggest Wrath realm, which is Gehenna CU with just over 19,000 players, there are 8 different Season of Discovery realms which currently currently have more raiding characters, some by an absolutely enormous margin. These increased server sizes really have been matched up to player demands too. We know Blizzard have constantly been iterating and changing how many players can fit onto a server whilst keeping it playable, and now these numbers really seem to prove that. I mean, if you go down on the RAF section and scroll, there's a bunch of realms which would be considered pretty much dead by today's standards, and if you go even further down, there are many realms which Blizzard had to close and then merge their players elsewhere. People like the big realms nowadays, and with layering tech to keep things running smoothly, it seems to have been well received. There is another site I found too which has some interesting data called atlasforge.gg. This shows data according to Blizzard's API data from searched armory characters and guilds. It once again does estimates of its own for characters on each server, but will give more of an impression of overall players, including those that are inactive, I believe, not just the ones that raid. And it does paint somewhat of a different picture. Here it shows the Realm Crusader strike on NA with nearly 200,000 players. That's a lot of people trying to get on Asmonlayer. What I also like is it has a class race breakdown as well, with human and Nord. Kind of surprised there's more undead than orcs if I'm honest. As for classes, hunters are narrowly the most popular. We'll have to see how many more nerfs it will take to change that. I think we're on nerf number 6 so far. The next most popular class is warrior. Now there's a class that's totally fine. After that we have druid and mage, who are both pretty close in terms of numbers. Imagine druid is one of the most popular picks in the game for Season of Discovery. That is a much improved class, because druid was by far the least played class in 2019.
I think Boomkin is lit. I meant to say druid, but Boomkin is lit. Druid is lit. Druid is in a much better spot. It really is. Druid is a ton of fun right
now. And apart from the non-faction unique classes, Warlock is the least popular. It sure doesn't feel that way in game, and you run into Warlocks all the time, but maybe that's just how big the servers are these days. But
Okay, I'm going to give a take here. You guys are going to dismiss it. I know you're going to dismiss this as being biased, whatever. I don't care. It's true. I genuinely think most people are too stupid to play Warlock. I actually sincerely, genuinely believe most people are not smart enough, because if you're playing Warlock, how can I explain this, right? Every single other class is based around the concept of press button, do damage immediately. If I press the button, then it's going to do the damage. With the Warlock, you are doing galactic 5-dimensional, time traveling DPS, because you hit a button and then you're thinking, okay, over the next 30 seconds, I'm going to be doing this much damage. It's not button damage, it's button and then damage over the course of 30 seconds or over the course of, and so I actually seriously believe that Warlock is maybe intimidating for people. I think the intelligence required to play Warlock is too high for the average dumbass. It's true.
I can say though, even though this isn't perfect data, of course, is that it's much better class distribution than what we typically see in vanilla. Usually, without exaggerating, warrior is about 25% or more of any individual server's player base, followed by mage and then rogue or priest. And after that you just have the other classes. So overall, Season of Discovery is doing more than just pretty well, which not only bodes well for the rest of the season, but for Classic as a whole. Now Blizzard have really committed to this idea, and it's turned out to be incredibly popular. We really are getting one step closer to something bigger than just a seasonal server, but of course we're going to have plenty of time to talk about that over the duration of the season. As for why the numbers are so high, there are a bunch of good reasons. It's super accessible. You'll have people who could never grind out level 60.
I know a lot of retail players have come over for SOD.
Cap, and since it's being raised in increments,
retail players are loving SOD. That's what I see.
So I think people are going to find those leveling grinds a lot more manageable. There's just new stuff, of course. People have imagined vanilla with changes for years. Now we really do have it, and it's been amazing. And perhaps one of the other biggest reasons is it'll just have a wider reach in terms of audience. Vanilla gameplay is typically very slow, especially at the lower levels. Runes have bridged that gap somewhat, and I think we're seeing more people that typically only play retail actually giving this version of the game a go and having a really good time with it. In fact, with a roadmap between Classic and Retail recently, Season of Discovery, among other things, might even be a game that's picking up players between major content releases. And Retail still is, to this day, a very
That could be
popular
the case.
game, probably more so than you'd think.
Is it possible that Phase 2 of SOD will be even more popular than Phase 1 of SOD? You know what's insane? Every single week of SOD so far that we've been tracking this, it's been growing. SOD is growing still. You think it will be?
It's harder to measure the player base on Retail because they have several raiding difficulties, people doing Mythic Plus as endgame instead of raids, and people who straight up don't do this content much and instead focus on collection and completionism type content, which Retail does a far better job of. But for example, the WoW YouTube channel ran a poll a little while back with some 120,000 votes, where Dragonflight just beat out Season of Discovery in terms of popularity. Classic as an entire franchise did technically have more votes, but I think there are a lot of quiet, casual players on Retail who don't really get involved into things such as how well is my game doing, and they just, well, play the game. Classic era has also remained pretty consistent, and there are still a good amount of players going back to that version, and I'm thankful that it still exists so people who prefer a more no changes approach have somewhere to go.
Do you guys think that at some point they need to do an actual Classic Fresh No Changes? Not SOD, a full, complete, comprehensive Classic Fresh No Changes. At some point I think they do. I think, in fact, I think the time to do that is whenever SOD is kind of dying down. When SOD has run its course, what do you do next? Classic Fresh No Changes. So this is probably 18 months from now, maybe? I'm not sure. Something like that. I don't know.
But amidst all the success, one version of World of Warcraft has started to see quite a notable drop-off. Wrath Classic. This has been a bit of a trend so far. Hard raid comes out, number of active raiders drops off. You can see Ulduar looking like a staircase going down week on week, despite it being one of the most hyped up raid tiers of all time. And ICC isn't a walk in the park either, or at least the last few bosses aren't nowadays. We also got our ICC patch with no buffs inside the raid, and Lich King on 25 Heroic week 1, possibly even week 2, was the kind of boss you...
Okay, so guys, now that we have seen the way that things have gone for Classic Wrath, can I get back to the fucking... There, alright, Wrath. This is the current state of Wrath. Every single week of ICC has just seen catastrophic decline in the active player base. Should they have launched ICC with the 30% damage buff? Do you think ICC was too annoying for people to give a fuck doing it? Do you think they should have given people the damage buff from day one? Like maybe, because people are just not fucking with ICC. You think it wouldn't matter? Maybe it wouldn't make a difference. I don't know, but either way, ICC is not been received very well, I don't think.
Should find midway through a mythic raid. It was a 15-minute boss encounter where if anything went a little bit wrong, you could easily wipe, whilst the whole raid would also have to perform at an extremely high individual level. But then guilds would already get stuck long before this encounter, as both Syndragosa and Professor Putricide on Heroic are also quite a challenge when you first get to them. And the drop-off for ICC started before Season of Discovery, and before the buff was brought into the game too.
That is true.
Season of Discovery was November 30th, and the 5% buff started on December 5th. And this 5% buff, just in case you don't know, it basically makes you 5% more effective at everything, and it increases by a further 5% every 2 weeks, and it will eventually cap out at 30%. Still, in a 5-week period, Wrath of the Lich King dropped from 400,000 active raiders all the way down to 200,000. It has, however, seen an increase.
So this video, no. Okay, this is the copium here.
Following the last reset when the 15% buff went active.
This video is like probably 6 days old. This video does not have the current stats, which is... He said, oh, it's coming back up. Maybe everything's going to be okay. Oh! This is the second lowest that Classic WoW has ever been. The only week lower than this was the final week of TBC pre-patch. There was 1 week, I mean, outside of launch, right? Outside of launch. Since launching, this is the second worst week ever. And the only week worse was pre-patch for TBC. Whoops,
High
my
drama
bad.
today.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
It's been a drop-off for Wrath for the Lich King,
Silence.
but not a wholly unexpected one, and several things would have caused this. First up is the raid.
How is launch so low? Well, the reason why launch was so low is because people aren't raiding. That website is tracking Warcraft logs. So if you are not raiding, you're not going to show up on the website. And if the game has been out for 3 days, you're level 23, so you're not raiding, right?
Raid is hard. Lich King especially, as mentioned, is far and away the most difficult encounter we've seen on Classic. On top of being hard, ICC is also a very long raid, which will be taking many groups 2 nights or more to get through. The holidays usually have a knock-on effect to the amount of people raiding as well. But Season of Discovery was out during the holiday period too, and its numbers have only gone up, it seems. And of course, it's the final raid of the expansion. There is always some reduction in the player base once they've completed the last tier, but we can see neither Naxxramas nor the Sunwell saw a drop this fast.
It makes me really doubt whether or not Classic Kata is going to be successful. Obviously, they are doing Kata. I already thought it wasn't going to be super successful, but this is making me think it's going to be a complete and total flop, like an absolute complete and total abject failure, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking now after seeing this.
There is also no Wrath era confirmed to be happening at the moment. Our characters will progress on to Cataclysm, and possibly even future expansions. This would have demotivated some people to carry on playing and to earn their bis. And, well, we've seen the roadmap, right? The Cataclysm beta isn't planned till late spring, with an early summer release for the expansion. Do you want to be doing ICC every week for that long? Maybe not. Don't worry though, Ruby Sanctum is out now, the real final tier of Wrath. Surely that will change things around, right? And you know what? It's no coincidence that Season of Discovery came out of nowhere as fast as it did. There was always going to be a drop-off at the end of Wrath, and the season...
I think the future of the Classic World of Warcraft player base, it's not TBC, it's not Wrath, it's some version of Vanilla WoW. Maybe it's Classic Fresh. Really, I think the best case scenario is Classic Plus. And maybe you can say that SOD should be Classic Plus. Classic Plus should be SOD. And what that means is, okay, we do level 40 stuff, we do 50, we get to 60, and then at 60, maybe every couple months they add a couple more runes, and they continue to add level 60 content. And at SOD at level 60, it is Classic Plus. And then we're playing SOD for like 5 years. And every couple months they just keep adding new content of sorts. This right here that we're seeing, this might be the beginning of the future. This might be what we have for 5 years. Who knows? Who fucking knows? And they just keep building onto it. Maybe at some point they add new zones. They're adding new dungeons, new raids, maybe new races or class combos, and it all starts here. I don't know. Who fucking knows? I have no idea. Who knows what they're gonna do?
Seasonal server.
I think right now there's a strong argument to be made that could be the case, given how successful SOD has been. People seem to really, really like SOD. And so if you're Blizzard right now, you say, oh wow, people love this. People seem to be really enjoying themselves. Okay, well, as long as people are having fun, let's keep on rolling with it. Let's keep on playing it out. As long as people are playing it, as long as they're enjoying it, let's keep on going.
Would have piqued so many players' interests who otherwise would have probably just quit, to be honest. And if there was ever a time to properly explore how Classic with changes would look, surely it's at the points when Kata comes along and changes everything forever. I'm expecting a smaller player base for Kata too compared to Wrath, and for what it's worth, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as you often hear it being made out to be. But
It's bad.
by Kata, it's definitely taking a shift towards progression raiding for the PvE endgame, and I've seen enough examples to know that caters to less players compared to the simplicity and ease of classic raids. But luckily for us, we won't have to choose, because you can play one or the other, or you can even play both. That's pretty cool, right? Either way, the population for Classic as a whole is looking pretty amazing at the moment, and it's probably one of
a lot
the
of people.
best and most accessible times we've ever seen to get into some vanilla WoW. As mentioned earlier, these numbers we looked at today aren't perfect, they're not going to be the full representation of the story, but they do give us a good impression of what's going on. And I think things are looking very promising for the future of Classic WoW. So let me know how your realms are looking at the moment, whether you've been focusing more on Seasonal, Wrath, Era, or anything in between in the comments down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon.
Very soon. Yeah, I don't know the back end of, I should link that video. It's a good video. Thank you, WillE. Great video.